This video is brought to you by MacBack. Today I'm going to take you through the first 25 things that you should do if you've just got your brand new iPhone 15 Pro, iPhone 15, or any other iPhone that runs the latest iOS 17. Now these tips and tricks are going to help you find handy new hidden features, as well as preserve your battery health, extend your battery life, and maximize your iPhone's performance. But quickly, before we start, I am giving away this brand new iPhone 15. And for a chance to win, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and subscribe to my second channel, TechBook by Dion, link in the description. Then leave a comment with your Instagram username and follow me on Instagram at @DionSchudeboom, where I will announce the winner on the 29th of December. Alright, so to start, we're going to look at two really important areas, and the first is how to preserve your battery health, and the second is the top battery saving tips. Now, these are both going to, of course, extend the usability and the life of your phone, which is really important. So let's first look at how to preserve your battery health. Now, to do this, here in the main settings window, we're going to scroll down to where we find battery. Now, first here on the top right, we do have the option to show the battery percentage if you choose to do so, but more importantly than that, we're going to tap into battery health and charging. Now here, not only can we find the maximum capacity of the battery, this here is the indicator of your battery health. So anywhere from 80 to 100% is considered normal. And then once you go beneath 80%, that's when Apple typically recommends you replace the battery. But how do we keep it at 100% for as long as possible? Well, a really important function right here is called charging optimization. Now here you have two options. You can either decide optimized battery charging or 80% limit, or well, none. Now I like to use the optimized battery charging limit. Now what this essentially does is it's going to track how you typically charge your phone. So let's say at night at 10 p.m. you plug your phone in, wake up at 6 a.m. to then unplug it. Now instead of fully charging when you plug in at 10 a.m., it's going to first charge up to 80% and then wait with the remaining 20% till closer to when you typically wake up at around 6 a.m. And this is going to help preserve your battery health over time. Now if you want to take it one step further, you can also add an 80% cap to your battery, and this means your battery will not charge above 80%. Now this will help preserve the battery life even more, but to me this is too much of a sacrifice, as I don't want to give up 20% of my battery life. So I like this first option here, that kind of gives you the best of both. And quickly, while we're on the subject of charging, let me briefly talk about what kind of charging habits are best and what kind of chargers to use. So if your aim is to solely preserve your battery health, the best thing to do is to charge via a cable, so with a wired connection, as opposed to wireless charging, as this will generate less heat. Furthermore, if you use a lower watt or slower charger, this too will improve your battery health, or rather slow the degradation of your battery health. So I recommend something like a 5 watt or a 10 watt brick as opposed to a 20 or 30 watt brick, which will charge your phone faster, but because it generates more heat, will cause your battery to wear more quickly. So again, to maximize your battery health, use a wired connection and a lower watt charger. Great, so now that we know how to best preserve and extend your battery health, let's talk about battery saving. Now, there's three really big things that come to mind. And the first is limiting your notifications. Then we're going to look at background app refresh, and then we're going to look at Siri. So let's start off with notifications. Now we're going to go into settings, and then we can scroll to where we find notifications. And here we're going to go through all of your applications, and chances are every one of these apps is probably going to want to send you notifications throughout the day. And not only is that not good for your battery life, as of course your phone display will wake, the speaker will go off, it will vibrate, and this really adds up if you have over 100, 200 notifications coming in per day. So having less notifications is not only good for your battery life, it is also good for your well-being, as you don't want to be distracted by things that don't matter. So my suggestion really is to turn off things like shopping apps, games, for example, but keep on those essential messaging apps, maybe banking related apps or health related apps you might want to keep on. But other notifications, I suggest you turn off, and this is really going to impact your battery over time as well. So just to give you an example here, let's say I have the Apple Store and I want to turn off notifications. All you have to do is toggle this first switch here at the top, and that's then going to block all notifications from that particular app. And similarly to notifications is background app refresh. So on the main page of your settings, we're going to go into general and then tap on background app refresh. And here too, every app is probably going to want to refresh in the background, but many don't need to. Now on top here, you do have the option to turn it off for all applications. This is something I actually don't recommend because there are certain apps that you do want running in the background. For example, your Maps applications, maybe certain productivity apps or messaging apps. And that's exactly what I've done. So you can see I have a lot of productivity related apps here. That one that doesn't have to be on, but my Maps applications, those are on as well. And other applications that don't need to be running in the background, I turn off. And you can see I probably have half of them or so off. And this just means that those apps won't be constantly running in the background using battery life. Let's talk about Siri. Now, Siri is a great digital assistant that I find myself using quite often, but there's many ways to use Siri on your iPhone, and how you choose to use Siri will definitely impact your battery life. So let's go into the Siri settings. So on the main page, we're going to scroll to where we find Siri. Where is it? I already went past it. There it is, Siri and search. We're going to tap on that. And then here we have the option for listen for. Now you probably have one of these on. I'm not going to say it out loud to not trigger your Siris, but if you have either of these on, what that means is your phone is going to be constantly listening in the background using the microphones for these activation phrases. And this definitely takes up battery. Not to mention your phone can definitely be accidentally triggered. For example, I find if I say the word seriously, it can often trigger my phone, which isn't great, especially if you're in the middle of like an important Zoom meeting. Has happened to me too many times. So instead, I turn this off and I use the side button to activate Siri. So that here's the sleep wake button. All you have to do is press and hold that. And as you can see, Siri will come up and we can use it just like normal. And again, because we're using the side button to activate her as opposed to that trigger word, it won't be constantly listening in the background, saving you battery. And in my opinion, it also completely removes accidental triggers. So it's a win-win. Great, so now that we've covered some most essential battery tips and tricks here, let's talk a little bit about customizing your phone. So with iOS 17, Apple brought some new ways to customize your phone, starting here with the lock screen. So to customize your lock screen, what you're gonna do is make sure your phone is unlocked. So just look at Face ID, there we go. And you can press and hold, and that will allow you to quickly cycle between all of the wallpapers that you have on your phone. So it's kind of like switching between watch faces that you have. Very easy and a great way to instantly change up the entire look of your phone. To just walk you through an example, let me add a new one here. So on the far right, we can go ahead and press that little plus sign, and we can choose. You have your photos to choose from, preset wallpapers as well. I actually really happen to like the wallpapers that come with the iPhone 15 Pros. I think they look really neat. So let's go ahead and set one of these up. Now, one of the new features as well with iOS 17 is not only can you change the font, but you can also actually change the thickness of the font. So you want it to be a little thinner, a little thicker. I really like this font. It's kind of my classic. You've probably seen this in my videos. And we can also go ahead and change the color as well. I like it to blend in a little bit. And here up top, we can change whether to show the date or temperature. I usually keep this as the date and instead add a couple widgets beneath that. So adding widgets on the lock screen is a great way to quickly see information at a glance. So for example, I like to have the temperature, the activity, and sometimes I also like to have the percentage chance for rain, which I believe should be in here. Where is it? There it is, precipitation, which if you live in London like I do, this is really essential. I check this before I leave the house every day pretty much. And this here now gives me 3 widgets. Now you can have up to 4 widgets. And it's great to show this in terms of getting information quickly. However, since we're on the subject or earlier of battery, widgets do run in the background, and as a result will be always refreshed when you look at your phone, which is great, but they do take battery. So I do suggest you use widgets sparingly. So really use ones that bring you value, right? Don't just have them there for no reason. For example, the activity rings, I really find that useful. Temperature as well. So these are ones that I like to have and I'm willing to use or give a little bit of battery life for to get that added functionality. So really think about it and choose wisely as to how many and which widgets you use. Now, once we're done, on the top right, we can press add. We can choose to add it as a pair, so it will assign both the lock screen as well as the home screen, which we'll go ahead and do. And then we tap into it, and voila, we have now customized our phone, and we can swipe to unlock. One of the first things I recommend you do with any new phone is to get a good case, and this is where MagBag comes in. Now, MagBag adds protection and also functionality by letting you mount your phone virtually anywhere. To start, this is the MagBag case. Now, here I have it in black. It comes in a variety of colors, and I especially like that you can now customize the buttons to add a little bit of personalization to your case. The case is made of this really nice and grippy impact-absorbent material, which is actually drop tested for up to 6 feet. But my favorite feature of the MagBag case is not only is it fully compatible with MagSafe, but also with MagSticks. And this means you can basically mount your phone to any surface by adding one of these MagSticks. For example, say a dashboard, a kitchen, or a wall. And plus, if the surface is already metallic, you can just place your case to mount. The array of magnets inside the case also lets you add accessories like the MagBag leather wallet, which is great because not only does it use magnets, but it actually has a 2 to 3 times the magnetic strength of typical MagSafe, which of course for a wallet is especially important. MagBag went even further by adding extra functionality, so you can also use the wallet as a stand, which is a great way to prop up your phone, say while you're working at a desk. There's also a handy loop in the back, which will give you added grip when you're using your phone, and the wallet can hold up to 6 cards or cards and cash, thanks to having dual pockets. And then lastly is the MagBag multi-charger. Now this charger lets you charge not only your iPhone, also your Apple Watch, and of course also your AirPods. It's an excellent all-in-one charger, and I really like the minimalistic design that will look at home anywhere on your desk or say in your nightstand. To upgrade your iPhone with MagBag, be sure to head to the links in the description and use code Dion15 for 15% off your order. One of the big features that the iPhone 15 Pro specifically brought is the new action button that you're going to find on the side here. And this actually replaces the mute ring switch, and we'll look at that in a second. But for now, quickly, I'm going to look at the action button and show you how to customize this. You can see I've got mine here to set the torch, super handy, but there's a really easy way in settings to assign different functionality to this button. So to do this, we're going to go into the settings menu here. Back on the home page, we're going to scroll to where we find action buttons. We find that right beneath the control center. And here we have this really neat little swipe menu where you can choose different functions to assign to that button. So camera might be a common one, the torch, or if you missed the mute button, you can, of course, reassign that there. You can also have things like to start a voice memo or even add a shortcut, which essentially lets you build a custom function. You can have it trigger lights in your home or play a certain song on your speaker. The options really are endless when it comes to the shortcuts, but of the presets, I like to use the torch. I actually find it super handy if I'm looking for my keys in my bag, for example. Just nice to have that hardware button. But of course, since the iPhone 15 Pros no longer have that mute switch toggle, how do you know if your phone is on mute? Well, personally, I like to have my phone on mute pretty much at all times. And normally speaking, if you do, what you're going to see is you're going to have this icon right here in the top left of your menu bar. Now, while it is useful to know whether your phone is on mute or not, since mine is pretty much always on mute, I don't need to see that icon there always. So what you can do is in the settings page, we're going to tap on sound and haptics, and then we can disable that function, and they'll clean up the space there on the top and not show you whether your phone is on mute. If you are ever unsure, you can also swipe down here from the control center, and you can simply trigger or remove it there. So you can kind of have that quick switch functionality still, even if your custom button is assigned to something else. While we're here in the sound and haptics menu, if we scroll down, we can also change the keyboard haptic. Now, this is the sound or vibration you feel when you're typing. So out of the box, you will hear the clicking sound of your keys. Personally, I don't really like this to be on, so I turned this off. But what I've really grown to like actually is the subtle haptic feedback from the keyboard. Kind of almost makes me, brings me back to the BlackBerry days where you're kind of pressing tactile buttons. So I like to have the haptic feedback on. Gives a very slight vibration per click, but then turn off the sound as it won't disturb others. I want to look at the home screen real quick. So specifically with iOS 17, widgets on the home screen have actually become a lot more useful in a sense that they are now interactive. So I have a couple examples here. So you have a reminders widget here, and where previously you could only see reminders, you can now actually tick them off. So let's say I've picked up my dry cleaning, I can go ahead and tap that, and it's then going to update that list automatically and then remove it from the list. Really useful functionality. I think makes a much better case for using widgets on your home screen. And then also beneath that, we have, for example, the music widget. I can go ahead and actually just start a song right there, one of my more recently played songs right from the home screen. Super useful, and I really encourage you to add some more widgets, see what you like, see what you don't like. But just like on the lock screen, do be mindful of how many widgets you use, as of course these will be taking battery as they run in the background. So only use which widgets you really get value from. So use them sparingly. One of my favorite features of iOS 17 is called standby mode. So to make sure that your standby mode is activated, we're going to go into the settings app here, scroll down to where we find standby, and then you're going to want to make sure that this is activated there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to lock my phone and then place it horizontally on this wireless MagSafe charger. So there we go, it is now charged. And as you can see, we're automatically going to enter standby mode. And this gives you a really nice overview of your clock, as well as things like your outstanding reminders, a calendar widget, your weather, for example. You can even swipe through to different photos, as well as a world time. And this is just a really nice way to dock your phone at your desk, limit the distraction, as well as you're going to be less focused on notifications and more on just the content that you can see on your screen. I particularly like to have a quick overview here of my outstanding reminders, like my daily to-do list, so I can quickly see what's outstanding and then tick them off as I go. Let's take a look at messages, more specifically iMessage. There's a few really cool features that I think you should know about. And the first here is that we have the ability to undo or unsend, as well as edit a message even after it is sent. So to give an example here, let's say I have a written out message. I'm gonna go in and send that. But let's say 10 minutes is a little bit optimistic. I still have some filming to do here. So what I can do is press and hold on that message and then tap on edit. I can go ahead and actually edit that as I wish. So for example, instead of 10 minutes, I'm going to say 20 minutes, and we can go ahead and tap on the little tick mark, and as you can see, that will then amend the message. Now, it is important to know that the person can see that the message has been edited, as it will show that little edited icon, but they won't be able to see the edit history. Now, let's say I made a mistake in this message, or I want to undo it entirely. What I can also do is press and hold on that same message and then tap on undo send, and that's then going to make the message disappear. Again, the person will be able to see that a message has been unsent, but won't be able to see the content. And lastly, in terms of editing as well as unsending your message, both of these can be done up to 15 minutes after sending. As you can see in this conversation, I've also sent through a couple of photos. And one of the things I really like about iMessage, as opposed to WhatsApp or many other messaging services, is that you have the option to actually send full quality photos where it won't actually compress or degrade them when you send them. However, there is a setting that you're going to want to make sure is activated to ensure that you actually are sending full quality photos and videos. So to do this, we're going to go into the settings app and then go back to the main page here and scroll to where we find messages. And then all the way at the bottom, you're going to want to make sure that this is off, which is called low quality image mode. Now, this will save you battery data, but also potentially storage space, as those messages will add up. But if you want to send full quality images like I do, you're going to want to make sure that this is off. Now, let's jump into the Notes app, which is a great way to quickly note down some ideas, make a list, grocery list, things like this. But let's say you store something a little bit more sensitive that you want protected. Well, it is possible to protect a note behind your password or Face ID. So to do this, let's say here I have a top secret iPhone tips and tricks notes here. What I can do is press and hold on that note and then tap lock note. And then we're going to type in your iPhone's password. And as you can see, that little note will now have a lock next to it, and it's currently unlocked, so I've just typed in my password so I can access it. But then if I tap here on the bottom, lock now, you'll see that note is now locked, and it will require my password or Face ID to enter. And the same is true every time you open and close the Notes app. So while I would never suggest storing things like your passwords or payment details in the Notes app, if you do have, say, contact information or something that's a little bit more sensitive, you are able to add one layer of added protection by locking those notes. Next, I want to take a look at photos, as there's a few really neat features and handy tricks that you should know about. So first, let's jump in the Photos app here and pull up a picture. So here I have a shot of me, a selfie here of me on a bridge. Now, what you can do is tap the Edit button, and we can actually, under Portrait mode, change the level of depth of field within that photo. So as you can see, my face will remain fully in focus, but the background here, I can make that really blurry, have a nice shallow depth of field here at f1.4, or I can bring it all the way out, all the way open to essentially an open or closed shutter speed rather, where both the foreground and the background are in focus. And what is also really neat is you can actually change the focus point. So let's say I want to focus on the background instead, just tap that, and it will then switch to the background. This is useful if, say, you have two people in a photo, one person in the background, one in the foreground, and you want to switch who it focuses on after the fact. So it's really cool to have this added functionality for basically editing your photos after taking it. Now, these features are exclusive to all of the iPhone 15s, so whether it be the Pros or the regular models. However, what is not exclusive to the iPhone 15s is a much easier way to crop your photo. So let's say here I have a shot of my Apple Watch, but I want to zoom in a little bit. Let's say this would be perfect if only there was a way to instantly crop it like this. Well, there actually is. So if you look here on the top right, you will find a crop button. There it is. And I can go ahead and then instantly crop that to exactly where I zoomed it in. And of course, I can adjust it from there as well. But this is a really great way to easily and instantly crop your photos, not only to the dimensions of your phone, but also to where exactly you zoomed it in. And this next feature has been around for a while, but I still think it's really useful, and that is the ability to copy text right from a photo. So if you see this little icon on the bottom right of your photo, it means there is text to copy. So let's say I want to copy the name of this product. I can literally select that like I would any other text, hit copy, go into my Notes app, for example, and then we can go ahead and paste that. And as you can see, it has just copied the text right from that photo. So great if you're looking up a product, or say you got a picture of a boardroom whiteboard from university or in a meeting. Great way to quickly copy text right from an image. All right, so this next portion of the video is really crucial, as we're going to look at how to make your iPhone more private. As these days, more than ever, so much of your personal information is on your phone, whether it be banking information, location information, all that. And you're going to want to make sure that you know who and how that is shared, and to be in control and be able to block apps from certain information. So to do this, we're going to go into the Settings app and then scroll down to where we find privacy and security. And we're going to start off with location services. Now here, you're going to want to go through all of your applications that want to request your location. You can see there's quite a few there. Chances are most will, and see whether they actually need to, as there's many apps that want your location but really don't need it. So to give an example here, Shazam, useful application. There's no reason they would ever need to know my location. So instead of even offering the chance to ask, I just turn that on never, and they'll never be able to ask for my location. Now, certain other applications, let's say, for example, your Maps application, you're going to want to make sure that it sees your location rather when you are using the app. So make sure that while using the app is selected, and you also have the option to share a precise location or like a vaguer location, whether that be based to your city or say the exact street and house number that you're on. So this is useful for certain apps. Of course, Maps, you're going to want to make sure that's accurate. So there I keep the precise location on. But let me see if I have an example here. For example, news. News can be useful if, say, I'm traveling and I want up-to-date news that is local to my location. I do allow to have my location, but it doesn't need my precise location. If it knows the country I'm in, that's enough. It doesn't need to know the street or the house number, for example. Now, one caution, a word of caution that I do want to share here, and I currently don't have any in my list, but if you see any app here and it has the word always, so instead of while using or never or when shared, for example, if you see the word always, I highly encourage you to really think about whether that app actually needs to be able to access your location always, as chances are no app does. And I would suggest you turn off location for that app, or at least limit how it's able to see your location. Beneath location services, we have tracking. Now, tracking here is very simple. What this basically means is it gives applications permission to ask to track you, and they'll be able to see what other applications you have running, what applications you use, as well as, for example, what websites you have open in Safari. In my opinion, there's no app that has any business for knowing this information. So if you turn off this function here, they won't even be able to ask you or request you for permission to track. So I suggest you turn this off, and they'll then blanket ban for all of your apps. And just like with location services, photos, I think, is another really crucial one, as chances are there'll be a lot of apps that want to request your photos, but you can see I've got a lot of mine set to limit access. And this means that I get to choose which photos they get to access every time. So for example, if I upload, let's say eBay, I'll take that as an example here. You can see I have 4 photos selected that may be photos for a listing or something, or I don't know, something I'm sending in a message, but I don't want them to access all 4,000 of my photos and 200 of my videos. So I suggest you do limit access for most applications, and certain trusted apps you can allow full access, and other apps that you don't trust as much, you can also, of course, choose to turn off entirely. I really also encourage you to do the same with microphone and camera. I'm not going to show you this. It's basically the same principle apply, but this is really all about doing an audit of your phones and all the apps that request this sensitive information, right? Your location, your photos, your camera, microphone, and see, do they actually need to access these things? And if they do, how often, right? For example, location. Should it be only while you're using the app? Should it be a precise location? So really think about these things. So I really highly encourage you to do this to make your iPhone more secure and also more private. And finally, here at the bottom, we also have analytics and improvements, and this is basically going to send anonymous analytic data to Apple. Now, while this is anonymous and I don't think it's as high risk to have on, it does take battery and also consumes a bit of storage, as it will take up more cache files, right? It will keep more detailed logs of your app history. So I suggest just turning all this off, as it saves you storage, also a bit of battery, and again, for privacy reasons, best to have this off too. So now that we've looked at how to make your iPhone more private, let's take a look at how to make your iPhone more secure. There's a few settings here that I think are really important that I want to touch on, and they're all in the FaceID and passcode sections. We're going to tap on that here in settings and first type in your password. Great. And in here, we can actually choose to set up an alternative appearance for FaceID. And this is useful if, say, you often wear sunglasses, or ladies, if you change your hairstyles, or men, if you grow beards. Sometimes FaceID can have trouble recognizing you. So in this case, you can actually set up an alternative appearance, and it will make it work more easily and more accurately for yourself. Beneath that, we also have the option to require attention for Face ID. And this means that when you're unlocking your phone, or say authenticating a payment with Face ID, not only does it require you to be in front of your phone, it will also require you to make eye contact with your phone. So you can actually test this if, say, you're scanning your face and you're looking off to the side. It won't unlock because you're not actually paying attention or looking at your phone. So it's just an added measure of security. So I suggest you turn this on as well. Beneath that, we have probably the single most important security setting on your iPhone, and that is this section here called Allow Access When Locked. And this basically determines what your phone can do when it is locked. So let's say it is lost or stolen. This means what can someone do with your phone basically? And ideally, you'd have all of this off, right? You wouldn't want that person to access your Siri to, for example, respond to a message, to access your wallet, see your cards, return a call, or plug in an accessory like say a computer or a USB drive to potentially access your data, right? So to start with, I suggest you turn all these off and then very selectively turn on what you want on. So for example, what I have on here is the lock screen widgets, right? You saw us set those up earlier. That was to show the weather and whether there's a chance for rain. This is, very simple information. I don't mind that showing at all times, so I let that run constantly. In fact, I'm going to turn off home control and also live activities because I had the activity rings right for the Apple Watch, so I have that on too, but all the other ones I have off, and I suggest you do the same as well. And beneath that, speaking of when your phone is lost or stolen, chances are that person is going to try to guess your password and enter or basically break their way into your phone. This feature here, erase data, will mean that after 10 failed attempts of your password, your phone is going to automatically erase itself, meaning that even when your iPhone is lost and no longer secure, your data will be. All right, guys, that is all. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. You're now officially an iPhone 15 Pro. If this video was helpful to you, then be sure to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.